From Wall Street to Main Street, this is Lalate.
It's a Monday evening as we go into an exciting night. Forced stimulus heating up, those monthly stimulus checks under the forced stimulus package that have to go by reconciliation. Later this week, the president is put to the test for the final round of what may seem to be bipartisan negotiations. Away he goes after that for reconciliation. The reconciliation process is a 2-month process to get forced stimulus done. Has to be signed into law by July. Congress goes on recess in July. In this recording, I go over what will happen this Thursday and Friday from the president to make the optics of bipartisan still at issue. And I go over the Republican counterproposals that came in day one, came in over the weekend. As the Democrats continue to say they haven't seen counterproposals, there have been, and they don't include climate. That lack of climate is ultimately what's going to give you stimulus checks, because the president says he's not going to do the forced stimulus package without climate. And away we go. In this recording, we'll go over and analyze the differences of the Senate plan and the House plan, both giving monthly stimulus checks, both giving the single biggest payout you've ever seen on this channel since its existence. And we'll also analyze which one pays more short-term and which one pays more long-term. The numbers across the board are incredibly big and they're incredibly exciting. Also making news today is corporate earnings. Coca-Cola came in, but was it a major beat or just a minor beat? And we'll go over those counterproposals from the Republicans and why they're going to be dead on arrival. Meantime, the surprising news, as professional sports may be flipped on its head, as a super league is formed on Sunday, or at least announced on Sunday, that could change the whole future of the World Cup, professional soccer as you see it today, and could signal a way in which American sports is about to change as well. It's perhaps the most shocking development of professional sports in nearly 3 years. I have all those details and more, and the latest news about other items like student loan debt forgiveness, EIDL, debt forgiveness, $1,700 of financial aid, and that $3,600 of college student help as well. As we start the new evening, it's a big night, and let's get to it. This is Evenings Lalate. Thank you for joining me for Evenings Lalate. It's a big night as we go into the sunset on a Monday night. Big stimulus is brewing, and also is brewing is counterproposals, but do those counterproposals get you to the finish line or not? In this recording, I go over all that. I'll go over forced stimulus, the reoccurring stimulus checks, the amount of the stimulus checks. I'll go over student loan debt forgiveness, also the business grants. Why have the shuttered venue grants been shuttered? It's just, Javile. And then I'll go over everything else you've been asking throughout the day. It's a great night, and I'm so glad you are here. This is Evenings Lalate. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Also, like this video. If you've not become a member, consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. The link's at the top of the chat and also in the pinned comment. The day started with the narrative of GOP counterproposals. Now, as you may have remembered, since I've been covering it over several weeks, the GOP counterproposals today were no different than the ones you've heard from me several weeks ago. The GOP counterproposals are basically the following. The president has 3 provisions in the forced stimulus package: infrastructure, climate, and taxes. Their proposal is not even to discuss number 3, start at number 2, and take it out. Yes, so they don't even get to point 3. They get to point 2 and say, take it out. We'll just give you point 1 and we'll figure out how to pay for it. That's not bipartisan for purposes of the president's mindset, because he has said repeatedly he has to have climate in this bill. And if it's not any clearer, guess what happens later this week? Thursday and Friday, the president has a climate conference. It's a climate conference in which he heralds how the president and this administration is focused upon the future of climate. It means that he's holding his guns, and it means that the bill has to go by reconciliation. On Thursday and Friday, the president will have that conference, and that conference will signal how the president is committed to fossil fuels and certain types of efforts to keep this country on path. The infrastructure plan in its core, even though we don't have it as bill, provides clean energy transitions, and it also includes new regulation on fossil fuel products, chemicals, and protections of wildlife. Well, on Thursday and Friday, the President of the United States will have a digital conference, and it will be with global world leaders to update and to unveil a new carbon emission reduction transit target. If that sounds like a mouthful, it is. That's why I have to read it from a script, because I can't even remember it. The net result is it's so huge in even syllables that the Republicans don't want it. They don't want it. They don't even want one penny. They made it very clear to the president nearly less than 3 weeks ago when Roy Blunt, the number one Republican in the Senate, who is, of course, from Missouri, and number one for transportation, said, you know what, I know what infrastructure is. I'll give you infrastructure, and I'll add in their water, and I'll add in their electric vehicles, but I'm stopping at that, and I'll give you about 600, 700 billion, and that's all we'll do. And if you want to take it, we can get this done in a week. Well, guess what? That was about a month ago. So what's important to understand is that the counterproposals introduced by the Republicans today basically just mirrored what we've been hearing for several weeks. It means that we're going to reconciliation. The GOP's four stimulus counterproposals offered today were much the same of what you've heard over the last few weeks. They're not going to do the president's $2 trillion fourth stimulus budget item. And remember, $2 trillion is before the add-ons, like stimulus checks. They're not going to do climate. They want climate removed, and they'll do about 600 to 800 billion. With that, that signals exactly where we're going to go. We're going to go right to reconciliation. The president's going to make it look like he's going to be bipartisan for a few more days or a few more, the end of this week. But at that point, away we go. Let's look at this fourth stimulus money. Huge money, biggest money you've ever seen for this channel for a single individual. The president's not going to put it in there. He's not opposed to it. He's not putting it in there. It's the senators and the House members who are Democrats. $2,000 a month or $1,400 a month if you're a senator and you're a Democrat. That's what word on the street says they're going to do. $12,8400. Republicans aren't going to give you one penny. They made it actually clear. They're not giving you a single stimulus check. So what's important to understand is the two paths to get this done. There's both a House path and a Senate path. Before I go over that in just a second, let me explain where we are on purposes of optics. You can hear the president hear about talking with GOP leaders this week, or leader, one guy, one person, one female. Just come on in and I'll say I spoke to a lot of you, just one of you, or I'll talk and you can just listen. I don't know how he's going to do it, but the narrative is he's not really moving, and reporters have been pressing the press secretary, saying it doesn't look like it's bipartisan. It just looks like he's talking. The president's talking and telling people to come up with something else. And they said, well, we have come up with something else. And they just come up with something else. We just came up with something else. We're not going to keep on changing our offer. It's sort of like when you're on in a negotiation room, you don't like the offer and you say, come up with another offer. It's like, I'm not going to counter propose against myself. I already made my offer. You want to do something else? Go do something else. And that something else is reconciliation. There's two paths to reconciliation, both the Senate move and the House move. The House members want to give you a stimulus check every month through the pandemic and then one additional year. That would amount to about 18 checks just to start. If this pandemic goes on longer, it could be even more months of checks. The senators want to do stimulus checks from now to December, so about 6 months of checks. Who are the movers and shakers behind these proposals? The senators are the core of the Democratic Party, the elder statesmen, the people who define the legislation of this country as Democrats. The House members are new members of Congress. They're junior members of Congress. They're progressives generally. And then the House members want to give you less, but over a longer period of time. Their proposal is reduced to a bill so far. $2,000 for the first month, $1,000 thereafter, which over 18 months could look like about $18,000. The senators don't tell us the amount per month. I'll explain to you later in this video why. But word on the street is the senators want to pay you about $2,000 a month, which would amount to $12,000, or $1,400 a month, which would amount to $8,400. Here's what you need to know so far about those numbers. First, the senators' proposal is faster money, a little bit less. The House proposal, more money, but a lot longer time frame, 18 months. So look at $12,000 in 6 months versus $18,000 in 18 months. It's a big difference. Second, the senators are keeping it close to their chest because they're not going to tell you how, where, when, or what manner they're going to do it. Over the weekend, I detailed the elements of a vote-a-rama, that two-day event in the Senate. And I went into excruciating detail as how a vote-a-rama is really almost like a MacGyver episode. How the senators really tried to keep everything quiet, plot this out months ahead of time, weeks ahead of time, don't release it to press, don't release it to news, don't want you to know about it, and literally pounce at the 11th hour with what they know they have support for. So that's how they're doing it. So do not expect a lot of chatter from senators before the 11th hour. They're not going to do it that way. Second, also understand that when we talk about the letters that were written to the president, those are letters. Those aren't the actual amendments. Those are just people saying, you know what, I have an opinion. Here's my opinion. So when you hear 21 to 50 Democrats writing the president a letter from the Senate, that's just a letter. It's not actually the amendments. The great news is that starting on Friday, this became front page news. I have singularly been on top of fourth stimulus check and fourth stimulus package since several weeks ago. Everyone else was out talking about something else. And I've been telling you, you got to make this front page news. And guess what? It is now. We went into the weekend with fourth stimulus check and fourth stimulus package being the number one search story on major financial news channels. It is not just the number one front page story, but it's also now the number one search story. And it's aided by new data that says another round of stimulus checks would lift 6.6 million people out of poverty. The issues at hand is that ultimately the GOP won't give you a stimulus check and the president's not going to give you a stimulus check. It's going to be slid in there by a reconciliation process. That reconciliation process, if we go back to that chart, is dependent upon one real key number or word. And that key word, if you looked on the graphic, is the word July. The bill needs to get going, and it needs to get going very soon. Here's the graphic again. When we look at July, it takes 2 months to do a reconciliation. It's a two-step process. It involves actually two bills. The first bill is the reconciliation procedural bill. The second one is the reconciliation substantive bill. It takes 2 months because they got to go House, Senate, President, House, Senate, President again. And it takes 2 months to do it. Well, Nancy Pelosi and Leader Schumer have confirmed in news several times that they want this done to a vote by July 4th. On Friday, the press secretary for the president said, we want this to a vote by July 4th. A series of new reports today say that if he does not get bipartisan support, he needs to start the reconciliation. Yes, that's the message I've been delivering on this channel. 2 months out from July 4th to start, it's about May 4th. We're just around the corner to get this starting. And guess what? I don't want to wait to July 4th for the vote. You know why? July 4th has been a almost infamous date in the history of this channel. You know what happened in July of last year? We were pressing up on a deadline for FPUC to expire and UI and a lot of other things. Guess what? They let it expire and they went on vacation. July to September is a bad time for legislative work. They don't work much. They go on a lot of vacations. They have break after break after break. So you want this bill done sooner rather than later. You want the vote in June if you can get it in June. As viewers said, can we get this vote going now? Absolutely. The president says that he's going to have more Republican meetings to try to do bipartisan support all week long. Today he was going to have he had another round of meetings. He's having more meetings tomorrow. But Republicans have said they want to take out certain things that don't concern transportation, broadband, and water systems. Senator John Cornyn, a Republican out of Texas, says he'll do $800 billion. President's not going to do $800 billion. Cornyn said to news, this is a core infrastructure bill that could pass with appropriate pay-fors for roads, bridges, and even broadband. I think we could agree on that. That's the part we could agree upon, he said on Fox News Sunday. Yeah, and everyone understands that everyone can agree upon roads, bridges, and internet. That's not a problem. And they even can agree upon water. That's not a problem. The problem is climate. Climate is not a road, and climate is not a bridge. And the Republicans don't want to give a penny for that. The president's problem is that the Republicans even want to slash part of the infrastructure. I haven't even gone over that in several weeks. While people can agree upon the subject matter, the Republicans don't even want to give the full amount of money for the first prong of infrastructure. They think that that it can be done with $600 billion or $800 billion or 30% of the president's infrastructure proposal, said Roger Wicker, a Mississippi Republican, who spoke about it last week. And today, Shelley Moore Capito, Republican out of West Virginia, said 600, 800 is about where we need to land. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. So away we go. As the president's going into Thursday and Friday for climate, if it sounds like perfect timing, like it's almost been staged this way, you could say it has. It just smells like it. What do I mean? You put in the bipartisan effort at the 11th hour. You make the final big push. They keep on saying no climate, no climate. Then you go to an international climate conference on Thursday and Friday, and you talk about how this country is committed to climate while the Republicans in the corner say no climate. And then suddenly, guess what? You go to recon. You announce you're going to recon. If it sounds like that's what's happening, it really does. Meantime, what's happening with student loan debt forgiveness? What's happening with those business grants? Why is there a shuttered venue grant that shutters? I'll have all those details and more coming up in a second. And also, the really surprising news, as professional sports may be flipped on its side as a major, probably the biggest story ever in professional sports and leagues, unveiled yesterday. And I'll have all those details. You need to understand it because it impacts our economy as well. Stay with us. I'll be back in about 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LA Daily for the excitement of the new LA live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LA at 9 a.m. Home LA returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LA at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LA Late. And the excitement continues right after this show in 2 hours from now with LA Late Night, our irreverent humor-only show coming up in about 2 hours after this broadcast. How are you? It's a Monday evening, and I hope you are having a beautiful day. I hope you had a wonderful weekend as well. Thank you for all the laughs and all the excitement. We had a great weekend together as a family, and we're going to have a great Tuesday together as well. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. This channel is approaching its 1-year anniversary in just a couple days, April 25th. Let's try to get to 400,000 subscribers. Let's do it. Also, like this video. Try to do 3,000 likes. And if you've not become a member, consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. The student loan debt forgiveness has gone off the rails in the last 48 hours to 3 days. Why? Because the president had promised the American people a memo from his education secretary, Miguel Cardona, detailing what he would do and whether the president has executive authority to forgive student loan debt by executive order. Obama did it and Biden did it. Obama did it and Trump did it. So would Biden do it? It's not gone smoothly and it's not gone quickly. So that issue is still looming. Also looming is the big question about business grants. Yes, SBA was supposed to go live with a series of items by now. If you've been a member of this channel or a viewer of this channel for several months, you knew that under the third stimulus package, there were provisions where they were supposed to go live with certain things by a certain period of time. They're blaming it on technical difficulties, but in other cases, they may be blaming it on not doing it. And what's going on? First, the EIDL grant of $5,000 for new applicants was supposed to go live under the third stimulus package. Doesn't look like they're doing it just yet, but they haven't denied ever doing it ever. Just haven't started it. What's going on? Not quite clear. Second, a business grant to start a new business did not get into third stimulus. The shuttered venue grant, which is not just for venues, has been shuttered. Yes, if you're looking for that shuttered venue grant for people's businesses who are closed down, the grant is closed down. The computer system is closed down. They explained on Friday their computer systems can't open up, and they're not quite clear when they're going to unshutter themselves. So as to the shuttered venue grant, it's still shuttered. Then the business grant for PPP, that is now back alive. Congratulations. I'm very excited for you. You can get that as well. Also heating up is that exciting news from Ron Wyden on Friday for a $6,000 offer. That $6,000 offer is the following: to provide you an extension of PUA, which is expiring in September. You know, I think, in my personal opinion, as we approach more close to June, you're going to see a lot of ideas circulating about how to prolong or make permanent some of the items of CARES Act 1 from the first stimulus package, like PUA. Wyden's proposal is one of them. His proposal is to pay $250 a week for up to 6 months for people who need PUA assistance lifetime. So, if let's say you have problems as a PUA type person in 2024, you can go apply for that new type of assistance, which would be $250 a week, and get up to $6,000 in that year. And then if you have problems 2 years later, you can go get some money again. It's incredible, great news. Again, it's a standalone bill in the Senate from Ron Wyden. I love that he's working outside the box. Also working outside the box is United Airlines, which is preparing to ramp up travel routes. There's a lot of belief that a lot of travel routes will start to get incredible surge of activity. And so United Airlines announced today that it's adding flights to Iceland, Croatia, and Greece. Oh, how delicious. In anticipation of a spur of international travel. It's been creating a pop in searches, says Patrick Quayle, United's Vice President of Network Operations. A lot of people want to go there, and a lot of people have been asking. Meantime, really, one of the most shocking details which I have ever seen in the history of Lalate unfolded on Sunday. Before I start the story, I want you to understand the impact of the story. The impact of the story is that a very large swath of the American labor force, the American employment force, and the American economy is based upon professional sports or league sports, whether it's football, basketball. They employ an enormous number of people, and the amount of money they generate for the U.S. economy is enormous. Oh, in the last 10 years, most of the money we have learned from professional sports has derived from broadcast rights, TV rights. And in the case of baseball, the broadcast rights in America are held by the baseball teams. In the case of professional football, they're held by the league, and then they share the rights among the teams. Well, in one of the really jaw-dropping OMG moments I have ever seen in almost 10 years, on Sunday, a series of teams came out with an announcement of the establishment of the European Super League. What does this mean? Teams from England, Spain, and Italy broke away from the Champions League and potentially from a lot of other things, I'm going to tell you in a second, including the World Cup, to form their own league called the Super League. It involves European teams from England, Spain, and Italy. Manchester United, Manchester City, Liverpool, Tottenham, Chelsea and Arsenal from England. Spain is Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Atletico Madrid. In Italy, it's Juventus, AC Milan, and Inter Milan. It does not include Bayern Munich and PSG for Paris and Germany, or any of the German or French teams. What is this based upon, and why is this so significant? It's significant because they are starting with US dollars from JP Morgan, amounting to an enormous sum. They will be given $6 billion in debt financing from JP Morgan, and then they're given an enormous $3.5 billion, which is $4.2 billion, to spend on infrastructure investments. They'll get a welcome bonus of 300 million euros per league team to start. Why is this happening? And what does this mean for the U.S. economy? It means that they saw that the big money in soccer was being split among teams of lesser value, where the big money was broadcast rights. And these teams now want to commandeer the broadcast rights for their teams in a way that would make them a lot more money. What's the fallout of the situation? There's indication and suggestion that the players for this league would be banned from the World Cup, banned from league sports in the respective leagues potentially, and that we still don't know how many things that they would be barred from playing in, all because ultimately they would make a bigger purse in just months under this new league system that they have made in years. Really shocking. So also what's shocking as we go into the new day is that there is about 3 more days or 4 more days as we anticipate the president to get this to reconciliation. The 4th stimulus package needs to go to reconciliation, and that ultimately, the faster it gets there, the faster we go. The president is not going to write your 4th stimulus package. That's going to come from your speaker and your leader. Speaker Pelosi will start by writing the procedural bill, reconciliation. Nothing substantive, just do you agree to do reconciliation? Yes. To the floor of the House, call for a vote. To the Senate, call for a vote. And off to the president. Then back it goes. The tow truck has passed over the finish line. Now it's time to pick up the tow hitch. It goes to back and does the substantive bill. Now, the big question that millions of Americans are wondering is whether the House members will put in those monthly stimulus checks before the senators can. Because remember, the senators can do it at the 11th hour. But will the House members help them and actually put it in there first? Remember, there are far more House members who want those monthly stimulus checks than even senators. Over 100 of them. So will Speaker Pelosi put it in there? In a new report on Saturday, it says that Speaker Pelosi's closest ally, who she's kept secret over the last year, is House member Omar, who's among those House members who want to give you monthly stimulus checks. Their proposal is, among others, that suggests that we need stimulus checks to go out, and they need to go out. They introduced it in a bill back in March, and now could that bill be merged into 4th stimulus? Could we suddenly see those monthly stimulus checks come from Nancy's house before it goes to the Senate, saving the Senate some leg room and making it even easier on the Senate? Possibly. Don't have to have it. Remember, the Vote-A-Rama is a 2-day event. It's the MacGyver of politics. It's the cloak and dagger of politics. You don't see what they're doing until the 11th hour. They prepare the amendment to provide stimulus checks far before they get the actual reconciliation bill. And don't think that's the only thing they're going to give you. Could they be giving you more? Yes. Remember, who gets these monthly stimulus checks for 4th stimulus? If you're on SSI or an SSDI, you get it. If you make less than $75,000, you get it. If you're a household of 4 or less, you get it. 4 times that check. This is the single biggest payout you would have ever seen on the history of this channel. Bigger than Hazard Pay, bigger than FPUC Retro, bigger than the $2,400. You need to push Purple Power. Take this video and push it on social media. Push the president to do reconciliation. Reconciliation now. Don't wait. Do it now. Ultimately, this is probably the final week for bipartisan negotiations. I don't think it's going to drag on any longer. I think the press reporters, the series of questions last week, got to the point that it doesn't look like it's bipartisan anymore. The Republicans made very clear what their counterproposal is. The press secretary says she hasn't heard one. She has heard one. The president has not moved. The Republicans haven't moved. So it's at this time to start the reconciliation. To take this video, hashtag MSC, hashtag Purple Power. Push your elected leaders on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, your Democratic House members and your Democratic senators, and push them to do those 4 stimulus. Meantime, also push yourself to join me tonight. Well, it's not really a push. To join me tonight, with or without your scarf, because the excitement will unfold tonight as Lalate returns with some more other programming. Are you ready? LA Late Night continues tonight. That's not the graphic. This is the graphic. Here we go. In 2 hours from now, I'm back with LA Late Night, our irreverent, non-informational, humor-only broadcast. Join me back in 2 hours from now as LA Late Night heats up. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, like this video. Let's try to do 2,000-3,000 likes. And if you've not become a member, consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay up LA for more.